kwenye giza, hautawaitoka moyo wa hasira. Umeniokoa kwa pole na tabasamu. You're my heart, you're my only one.
Welcome everyone. It's Monday. We are chasing away anything that remotely even sounds like Monday blues. We refuse. We are not for Monday blues. We are for Monday happiness, Monday joy, Monday learning, Monday victories, Monday everything. And so feel at home. It's lovely to see some of the regulars here. Lovely to see all of you who keep coming, keep learning, keep growing. And if you're new here, feel at home. This is the right place. Surely it truly is. It truly is. Here in East Africa, it's cold. It's a bit cold. I'm looking outside. It's cold. So we need to chase away the cold. We are not here for coldness. We are here for warmth. We are here for joy. We are here for heat, for sparks. Yeah, that's what we are here for. Let me share my screen. And then we can kick off today's agenda. Today's agenda. Let me share my screen. Yep, there we go. There we go. So, yeah, I'm excited as you can see. I really am. I really am because today we are talking about ourselves. Usually we talk about customers, internal customers, external customers, customer this, stakeholders this, partners this, how to this, that. Today we are talking about ourselves. And so it's a joy to have this discussion because as we pour into ourselves, we can only get better, we can only improve. And when we get better and improve, we improve others and a lot of others. For those who've not been here before, we do this every Monday. Some of you ask questions that have been covered in other webinars, and so we shall ship you off to the YouTube channel so that you can catch up on what you might have missed. We'll put it in the chat so that you can then catch up with things that conversations. You asked about customer journey mapping. You asked about internal SLAs to ensure internal customer experience is working well. You asked about how do we measure, measurement, metrics, being able to track with the voice of the customer, voice of the employee. All of these are in previous webinars. So please go there. If you look through and what you're looking for is not there, come back and hit us with it. We have our usual WhatsApp platform. You can ask questions there. We'll be happy to share with you all the knowledge and info that we have. So what are we doing today? Who is in the house today? Today we are talking about leading from within. We are talking about mastering self-leadership so that we can lead others. We want to be able to advocate. We want to be able to persuade. Customer experience and employee experience is an exercise in persuasion. We're always persuading upwards for budgets, for decisions, for strategy, for the board, for the leadership, for C-suite, for the team leaders at the top to buy in so that it runs well. We are always persuading downwards as well, persuading the people we lead with, the people we are leading, the people on the shop floor, the people we partner with, the people who complete our business journey for us, the riders, the people who do deliveries, the people on phone. We're always persuading that they may have great experience, excellence, behavior change. So how do we advocate? How do we master ourselves? How do we have the authority that we need so that when we persuade, when we speak, when we talk, when we say something, when we give instructions, when we call people to action, they listen. They actually listen because that's what we are on about. Leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. I think it's John Maxwell that says that. And with us, we have a John Maxwell Fellow in the house. Wahiga Gichinga is a John Maxwell Fellow. You won't believe it. She's just steeped, absolutely steeped, marinated in leadership. She's a leadership coach. She gets us to where we want to go. She gets us to lead ourselves well and lead others well. This is what she does at a global level. She's a Toastmaster par excellence, if I may say so. If you all don't know about Toastmasters, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Run there. Run there. I can see Toastmasters in this house. I'm really honored to be in the presence of some of you. It's a leadership platform and she's soared to great heights there. So she trains, she speaks, she coaches. This is her. Knock on her door. We will send you her contacts. If you want great leadership, Here is the sensei, the master. We need to sit at her feet, the maestro of it all. And so, Wahiga, here is the audience. Take it away. We are ready to listen to you. She's been doing this for a while. This is her life's blood. This is what she was created to do. Over to you, Wahiga. We are ready.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, all.
Afternoon.
Great to see each one of you, and welcome to the session. I'll jump right into the session because that's the meat for the day. So the conversation today is on self-leadership. And before we start the conversation, I want us to stop and think. 10 years down the line, who will you want to be? What will you be doing? Now, how proficient will you be in that you'll be doing? And now that you've thought about it, what are you doing about that today? Not 5 years in, not 8 years in, today. Because self-leadership is more about intentionality and owning our goals, our dreams, and our visions. And what our goals, what our dreams bring to the table is the ask to give them leadership. And the question is, have you been giving them leadership? You see, for a long time, I thought the leadership comes when you get promoted or you get a new position, and you have a team, you have the deliverables that you need to work with. And then that's when you start asking yourself, where do I start? Who are these? How do I go where I want to go? And you realize that each time you step into a space and there's somebody who comes in to lead, one faces a decision. One makes a choice. Do I allow this person to lead me or do I not? And what we shall be dealing with in today is what gives people permission to allow themselves to be led by you. Now, we've mentioned John Maxwell earlier on, and one of the things, and fascinating quote, that talks much about leadership, that combines self-leadership and leadership in the workplace is, a leader is one who knows the way, who goes the way, and then shows the way. And he focuses leadership on first becoming. You need to know. You need to go that journey individually. Only then do you qualify to lead others, to show others direction to where you want them to go. And I know we can look at leadership we have experienced or we have given, and we can check, did we exactly know where we were leading people? Did we exactly know what it was all about? Because people can tell. They may not voice it, but they can tell. So today, we'll be focusing on, do you know the way? How do you start going the way? Because only then do you get credibility, you get that authority to lead others. Now, and I want to say this because for a lot of time, and especially that we're in Africa, we have a lot of leadership that is from a position perspective. Let me call it that. I'm trying to be kind with it because there's a lot of chest thumping with it. There's a lot of giving instructions and then taking a whip of checking if people are complying. And the question is, how successful has that leadership been? Is it leadership one wants to sustain? And is it the leadership? Or do people follow you from pure obligation? Now, I said this not because I have learned leadership from the word go. I have come to this space from a point of hitting rocks, realizing this does not work. You want your bonus at the end of the year, You cannot use people as machine. They're not cogs in a machine. How do they feel seen, heard, valued? How do they feel integral to the mission that you have for your business? If you're a manager for your department, for the experience you want to create for your customers. Because if you sell yourself to the first customer who is an employee, you don't need to remind people what to do with external customers. Now, for a long time, what has been, people didn't seek leadership. People waited to be promoted. And that's why you got promoted, got there, and got shocked at what sits at the table. But self-leadership calls for preparing to be promoted, preparing for the job, preparing to start a business. That way, you're able to see yourself today the way you will be that 10 years down the line. And ask yourself the necessary questions. Not wait to be called director, but ask yourself, what does a director have? What does a director need? Then how can I be a good director? Now, what that does, it helps you to avoid the escapism that leaders do. I call it lazy, where you just issue instructions and then hide at them, rewarding and punishing, not all the objectives of the organization, but your own weaknesses, what you fear that is being said. And so the most favorite is a person who covers you up because it's just a matter of time. Life has a way of exposing who has leadership and who does not. And there are two things that majorly expose that. One is influence, how you deal with people. And second is the volatility that comes with business. Why this reveals? Because they're unpredictable. You can't hold them into a line. So for that reason, people will know and see, are you influencing? Do you have leadership within yourself? Or are you trying to get a job done? Because those two are totally different. And you can get a job done, have people receive their bonuses completely burnt out, and they take the bonus and leave the organization, and they never want to see you again. They don't want nothing with the organization. And the question is, have you won or lost? So those are the questions you ask yourself in leadership. And so part of self-leadership is understanding how your leading yourself affects your business, affects your mandate in an organization, whether you're a manager, you're a team leader, or however you're managing people, whether in society or in other aspects of life. Now, I want us to give us a scenario in terms of influence. Imagine that each time you have a deliverable, you have to grab people by the neck, drag them through the motions. And, you want to look over their shoulder, confirm they're doing the right thing. Now, in that environment, assume they get your customer. How are they serving that customer? Assume you're 2-layered or 3-layered leadership. How is the other person, if the person you're in charge of, how are they taking care of the members in their team? Do you think they're seeing them or hearing them? Are the customers, either internal or external, happy with this person? Is that person happy at their job? No, let's look at yourself as the business owner or the manager or the director or team leader. Are you also happy with the people, with your customer experience you're giving? What we call this environment? Is it one you want to wake up to? It's an environment screaming for leadership. And the question is one capable to offer leadership to that environment? Let me add some salt to that environment. There was a survey done last year by an advisory firm. It's called Gallup. And it was a worldwide survey on employee engagement. And the findings were shocking because they found that only 21% of employees are engaged at work. Now, what that means is you have a whole team, you're paying 100% for 21% discretionary effort. Now, let me add some pepper to that particular scenario. We are operating in a current world. For example, there are so many things happening in the business environment. And you have things like AI disruption, where your business can go dead in a night because your model has been replaced by AI. You have things like economic volatility. You know, I know we are Kenyans. We know how the dollar behaved a few years ago. And you're not sure whether you should wait to transact later or should transact out to avoid the repercussions of a high dollar rate. Now, we have observed the fuel prices, how they have been dancing, and the impact it has on doing business, on meeting our customer demands. Of course, I don't even want to talk about our political scene. It is screaming. And of course, it has repercussions. Now, you have that kind of environment. And you have people who are unavailable to you 79% of the time. You're the leader of that environment, either as a business owner, as the manager. And the question is, how do you meet objectives? How do you bring about profitability, competitiveness of the business? And it's an environment calling for leadership. And what I want to say is that it doesn't mean know everything, do everything, be perfect. Not exactly that. What it says is leadership is about understanding how to lead people. If people are led well, this environment, you don't need to bother about it. They will go out of their way to ensure things happen right for you and for them and for the success of the business. So this is the leadership we are talking about. Leadership that when the moment comes, shows whether it exists or it doesn't exist. And much of it is actually not what happens when you exactly get a position. It's what you've done before. Because we say success is where preparedness meets opportunity. And once you get a position, or once what happens is this: people have an obligation over you to respond to you. But what they're doing is not literally following you; it's gauging if you qualify for them to subject themselves to you. So the minute they see the cues that say no, then you don't qualify to lead them. And people check many things, by the way. Leadership lacks in aspects like, are you just having a transactional conversation? Are you just robotic? Or are you building a relationship? Are you trying to connect? Because the two takes a totally different capacity, a totally different mindset. The environment you step in is their direction. Do people understand where you're going? Do they understand what success looks like? Or they just have a JD that they're running with? So many leaks, yeah. And the question is, do you want to wait for this moment? Or do you want to do something today so that when the moment comes, you ride into it, running, and make the best out of the moment so that it doesn't come to you and then you get into shock and run into hiding. So today we'll be discussing how to lead yourself. So leadership. So, and the question is, to who does it apply? Does it only apply to beginners, people who are starting on leadership? Or does it even apply to high-level leadership, either a CEO or a director, or even an international organization leader? And reality is, how you lead in an organization is a trickle down of how you lead yourself. So leadership begins there. What comes at the leadership level is an extension of yourself. So the question is, what are you doing at a personal level? And I asked a question at the beginning of this session. Who do you want to become 10 years down the line? And what are you doing about it today? Because what that gives you is direction. My name is Wahiga. This is Wahiga 10 years to come. And what that does, I see Ruth Serem. Who is Ruth Serem 10 years down the line? I see Pam, I see Modoni Tabi. Who are they 10 years down the line? And what that does, it gives you an avenue to be intentional, an avenue on how to create commitment. And you see what happens when you decide who you want to become 10 years down the line. What hits you immediately, what slaps your face to wake up is the gap between who you are today and the person you want to be 10 years down the line. And self-leadership is walking yourself from the person you are today to that person you want to become. Now, this is not something you do for a day, because like I said, self-leadership is not for a beginner. Because if you are leading 10 people today, can you lead 20 successfully? If you managed an automation of a business or an organization, how are you going to handle AI? You know, if you managed to merge a business in East Africa, when it gets into the global stage, are you able to continue leading? So it means self-leadership is not a one thing to do for once and then you're done, then you're good to go. It's a self-continuous exercise you engage in such that you never plateau and get lost in systems. You don't get lost in motions. You don't get lost in ticking boxes. But you're gradually building expertise that allow you to apply yourself effectively out there in the world. Now, why do I want people to have dreams? Why do I want them to have visions? Why do I want them to grow? Because this is what people see and decide whether they want you to be led by you the way you lead yourself. Because if you don't care about yourself, and I have been working so hard to get here, for heaven's sake, I'm not going to subject myself to you. I could resign. I could decide that I don't know, and I let you figure out your life. But I cannot subject myself to be watered down by somebody who can't walk the journey which I walk. And this is an evaluation people are doing every day when they're engaging with you, if you're making decisions on their behalf. So if you get into a habit of continuously developing yourself, that is the first thing people pick on, because people are watching. People are not doing what you say. They're checking if it aligns with what you do. So second is credibility. How credible are you for me to want to be associated with you, for me to allow you to direct my life? Because in reality, when you're working with somebody, they're giving you a portion of their life, a portion of their expertise. And you're applying it to something. The question is, if you engage me as a customer practitioner, am I a robot in it? Or within 1 or 2 years, will I also have grown to become the customer service manager? Well, you have reason to become the CEO. That matters. Why? When you lead yourself, you are walking yourself from one level of proficiency to another. And that's because you know that journey, you can easily amplify it, or you can get somebody else to walk their own journey. So credibility is so important. And what brings credibility? When is your values. Are you somebody who shows up to work? Do you get the work done? Are you a person of your word? Your values are your connection point. And if people realize that you are guided by your values, nobody wants to be guided by a loose cannon. And I say loose cannon because there are people who throw away their values when a moment is convenient. Now, if I'm following you or you are leading the moment that I'm in, and you can sell me away for a penny, I'll think twice before allowing myself to show you my full strength of what I'm capable of. Why? You might take advantage of me. So your values matter so much. They define you. It's what connects you with the person you are leading or who is leading you. Second is commitment to your goals. Now, today we people have conversations. People are watching. And part of what they're watching is how you deal with yourself. Because nobody is an island. And if you're in a space where you're leading, you could be giving instructions about what A, B, or C, what Ruth needs to do, what the other person needs to do. But there is also the aspect of what you need to do. And people show up to the extent that you show up to your other goals. And that's what sets the mold of the organization. How do you show up for your goals? That's how they catch on the energy. That's how they catch on the seriousness of what we are doing. Because if you don't care, then you cannot bang the table on me and tell me I have not done this by this deadline. You know, you're just throwing to me a deadline on fire for your whimsical, excitement, or for you to negotiate for a pay raise. Because if I can't see you searching for yours, meeting your deadlines, then you cannot impose that on me. So those are some of the things that buys credibility. And if a leader is aware and is intentional with them, then you don't need to hold people by their collar. They have already set the tempo and they will follow that particular tempo. There are a few more things like integrity. Integrity is for obvious reasons. Nobody wants to be auctioned. And so they will want to check each time, can I trust this person? And trust comes from different perspectives, which a leader needs to show. One, competence, for example. You know, if I say today that I wanted to be a pilot for a helicopter to the coast, trust you me, you will check 3 times. Have I been a pilot? How many hours have I done? Was I introduced as a pilot or as a coach? At what point did I even imagine myself to be, a pilot of this helicopter? Because everybody wants to arrive alive. Because I know my F's, my L's, and my R's are showing up here. Yes, people want to get the destination, driving, they want to get the destination you're taking them, ready to take another haste. So your competence is so important. So if you're telling us to do things, people want to check, is it something you can do? You cannot tell us, for example, that we need to bring in AI to the organization. We want to apply, for example, in customer service, and you failed in the automation of another thing in the organization. People don't want to risk with you. Why? They don't want the name failure, aligning with your name. So things like competence is one thing which, if you continuously engage in self-leadership, you are polishing your competence. And that competence is what sells to people when you want them to do the next big project. Now, we're talking about trust here. And trust also goes to integrity. It goes to bias. I know right now we as Kenyans, we know the meaning of the word bias quite loudly. Is there favoritism? Favoritism? Yeah. We're also working for consistency. At what point, for example, do you reward? At what point do you reprimand? At what point, what determines your deadlines, for example? What determines what is important, what is not important? That consistency also serves to your credibility because people are checking for who or for what are you asking things to be done. So, and this could look like work, by the way, because then you're doing all the work up front to be a credible leader. But I can tell you, doing work up front, meeting with people and connecting them, I believe is a better journey than when you have to grab their neck and drag them through every motion. Why? When people are at your palm, when people buy into you, then you don't need to be so bothered about whether they will meet their deadlines, whether they're going to be committed to the organization because they are sold to you. But that doesn't just happen, by the way. It doesn't just happen. There are a few more things that make that connection that allows you to influence people with ease, that gives you that power with people. And one of those is authenticity. Now, when I talk about authenticity, it is, who are you? Who is Carol, for example? Who is Ruth? Yeah. Who is Modoni? Who is Brian? And it's Brian from the perspective of who is Brian in terms of strengths, in terms of weaknesses. And sometimes the greatest way to win people is how you deal with your weaknesses. Strengths are easy to just put them out there, let people, celebrate you, let people see how great you are. But when you talk about your weaknesses, you unlock something. You get people, you unlock the environment from performance. You unlock the environment from people wanting to look good to having real people. And I can tell you the risk of having performance in an organization. The risk with it is people don't want to be labeled as weak, as things they don't know, so they should put a face for you. They put a face. You have 10 million you need to invest in a certain project. They have no clue what they want, what needs to get done, but they put a face. And because you're not aware, trust them with the money, for example. What will happen? And so what authenticity does is it opens up a space to be real. You tell people, I stepped first to acknowledge my weakness. That way, they also feel they can let you into their weaknesses. And there's something beautiful about this space. One, when people are authentic, you can tell their real strengths and you can tell their real weaknesses. And this gives you a position of leadership. Why? When you know their strengths, you can position them to spaces they will thrive, they will shine. You can tell this one can actually be the next CEO. So I just need to add a few things here and there that they're missing, and they'll be good to go. As for the weaknesses, this is my coaching element. This is my session to be empathetic with them, to listen to them where they're coming from. And if I sit with them and I'm be able to help them tilt perspective and look at themselves when they have turned that weakness into a strength, then you don't even need to discuss the weakness again. They start their own journey to walk towards theirs. Now, I'm speaking about authenticity in second place because this first authenticity is with yourself. And it's this first authenticity with yourself that has unlocked the second authenticity. And I can tell you, in an environment where there's authenticity, the people relate from a relational perspective, not transactional. They are not robotic. They don't want to have a name. They're real. And this is a space of leadership, a space where you can guide, you can lead, you can help people transform. And if you have this with your team, I can tell you, you can go to any height. Why? Because it's an open space where anything can be discussed, where strengths can be shared without risk of you being biased, of you lacking integrity. Why? You walked the journey first. And moving on to the fourth one, it's emotional intelligence. There are people you see and they seem to know what to say, when to say, how to say it. So you can be in a very high density, volatile environment where, the fire can go off anytime because the environment is bad. There's somebody who comes into that environment and the fire goes off, and people are hitting each other. What needs to go wrong goes wrong. There are people who come to that environment and guide it to light. People who come to that environment and create understanding, create connection, and people all of a sudden are realizing their mistakes before you even really push it down their throat. Why? There was emotional intelligence applied to know what to do with what. And why emotional intelligence is important for a leader, and why one needs to practice to have emotional intelligence. One is to be self-aware. A lot of things go wrong because we are the problem. I don't know whether that's the right thing to say here, but yes, sometimes we are the problem. We're the people who flared our anger, and somebody feared that we might burn them alive. So they decided, you know what? Let's take care of your anger. We can deal with business later. But if you manage your anger right, if you let your anger lead to why am I angry, you get to understand, at what point do I get angry? Why do I get angry with X and not with W? And they have done exactly the same thing. No, that level of self-awareness allows you to be able to apply yourself right. So when the moment comes, when real anger comes in the world, in your workplace, then you don't go banging tables and beheading everyone near you. Why? You have learned to listen to the anger. You have learned to analyze it. And you have allowed yourself to let it guide you in how to lead the situation. So being self-aware is so important. And especially from the aspect of what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Because with your strengths, you know how to go all out, and people will embrace, they will see your competence, and they will trust that you can guide them in this area. But with your weaknesses, you will be cautious how you show up with them, how to reveal them, when to reveal them. You see, I cannot just tell you that after we've gone up miles and I was in the helicopter as a pilot that I crashed another helicopter. Sure, you need to learn it. We need to get out of this helicopter because we don't trust you. So how do you deal with your weaknesses? How do you reveal them in a way that they energize your team? Maybe it's to give empathy, or maybe it's to ask for help so that you can concentrate on your strengths. And this is a learned skill. It doesn't show up on the job. And if you're aware of your weaknesses, you know, how do I scale them up? How do I either, if it's too bad, then I need to get somebody to do this for me. So that then you can tamper the morale of your team. But if you haven't practiced with yourself, it won't be possible with others. Now, I'm happy that you attend such sessions. Because what such sessions do is they reveal what you don't know, and you have no clue you don't know, your blind spots. And you're innocently blind to them. But if a moment of leadership is calling, it doesn't care if you have a blind spot or not. But if you're continuously in a journey like this, where you're developing yourself, then you're not as bad as that person who has done nothing. It may get you at a certain percentage, but not at 100%. So part of leading yourself is understanding yourself from different perspectives. And that way you can apply yourself on the job and to others. Now, you can be very good with yourself, but are you socially aware? You could be very good. You could have had finished your perhaps college degree, first class, and you have no clue that either the person you're dealing with, either your CEO had failed terribly. In fact, they don't even talk about their results. So you can imagine you bragging about your first class every time you meet. I don't know what kind of environment you're creating with that conversation. Or you're very good and met all your goals, and you're getting your bonus. Your customers are giving good feedback about you, and you're so excited and you're seated. The person who sits next to you had a poor rating. They were not rewarded for anything, and they're just looking at you and thinking. So each time you open your mouth, do they want to be near you, or do they feel judged? Social awareness is so important. And the best way is to practice this with yourself, with the little things that you're doing, because this is what lets you into people's worlds. This is where you learn, so and so is good at this, so and so is not so good at this. Then they even tell you, when you're socially aware, you listen. You're able to listen to people. You don't need to agree with them, by the way. Sometimes you just need to listen. They just need to feel seen and heard. You empathize with them, and it doesn't have to be right. After empathy, then we can move to accountability. But the fact that you are human allows you to manage the relationship and direct it to the direction you wanted it to go. So leadership doesn't just happen by chance. It's work people have done. Now, if it's that person you admire so hard, that person you feel like, oh, this is the leader, I want to work harder. I think the question is, what work have they done on themselves? Because what you see is the fruits. And reality is, you also have that capacity to be that kind of leader. And leading yourself allows you to model leadership, to tell people, hey guys, I'm safe to be around. Hi guys, I am the person who can guide you to your next level of promotion or growth. Hi guys, we have this challenge at the department and we can settle it together. Because at the end of the day, leadership is ensuring that people are sold to the mission of the organization. And the only way to get them sold to the mission of the organization is to get out of the way. And the way to get out of the way is to be polished at what you do. Because for you to succeed in the corporate world in leadership, it starts with leading yourself well. Starts with leading the most difficult person to lead, which is yourself. And when you have succeeded, when you're in a space where you have failed sometimes going to meet your own personal goals, and you keep showing up for you, when you meet a team member, you are not judging them for where they are. You understand there's a time you are exactly where they are. You don't judge them for their mistakes, because you know you also have made mistakes and somebody has been kind. And even with those moments, you know what to guide them through. You know how to change their perspective to see themselves differently or the moment differently. Why? You were skilled first. Hence, you can be able to guide others to skill themselves. And in that space, you find yourself creating an unjudgmental space for people to exist, an unjudgmental space where people feel free for you to point direction. They trust that should things fail, you will not judge them harshly, but you will correct them and still make them accountable. And they are happy that it is you that is doing it. That way, you're in power. You are in charge. You are in authority, not because you have command, but because you have the hearts of the people with you. And circling back to the first statement before I just conclude of John C. Maxwell, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and only then do they show the way for others. And in that space, it's easier for you to deal with people with clarity, with empathy, and accountability. That's for my presentation today, and I want to hand it back to Carol.
Wahiga, I have written so many notes, my goodness. I feel like you are speaking to me. You have said that the most difficult person to lead is yourself. I think that's the truth. When I look at all the promises that I make to myself, and then like now we are media, I go back there and I ask myself, hey, I should be with a big stick to myself. And so you're telling us for employee experience and customer experience excellence, if we don't lead ourselves well, we are headed nowhere. We are headed nowhere. I am particularly drawn to what you have said. What gives people the permission to be led by you? What credibility, what authority do you have to stand up here and say that you're a leader? That's just deep and insightful. And I am picking that and running with it. You've also not romanticized it. You said it's hard work. We all want to be leaders. Leadership looks glorious. There's a saying about are leaders born or made? Are leaders born or made, Wahiga? Are they born or are they made?
Okay, that's a very good question. And because I would say leaders are made for one reason, the aspect of continuous improvement that makes you a better leader every time.
Yeah.
And what that means is you could be born with certain characteristics. You could be born in an environment that allows you to build on certain skills that,
Yes.
leadership comes out naturally for you. But that's not the level at which you shall lead in the capacity you have. You have to continuously build on those skills so that you shine in your world. So at the end of the day, you're not the leader that your mother made. You're the leader that shows up in authenticity,
Yes.
in their vision, in their purpose to
Yes.
be in the world and make a difference.
Wow. I love that. The Gallup statistics are very scary. The ones that you have shown us about disengagement. They're very scary. I think we should call ourselves to a meeting. The other day, there was, I had a delivery from Samosa World. I talk here a lot about riders and boarders because if we can win at that level, you can imagine how much we'll have won as a continent. And so I was running late. And I call the border, I say, I'm running late. Please drop the samosas with my neighbor at my neighbor's house. And I'm trying to describe my neighbor's house. And the rider tells me, don't worry, you are my customer. I will wait for you. What? What? And I arrive, he hands over the samosas, he asks me to double check, and then he says to me, I kid you not, Asante sana. You are our customer. Thank you so much for being our customer. I looked at this rider and I wondered, what level of buy-in, what level of engagement, what level of vision building, how have they cascaded this? And like you said, people just follow the passion, they follow the authenticity, they follow you. They don't follow some abstract things. I thought I must go and do some benchmarking there with Samosa World because I was so blown away, totally blown away. So it's speaking into exactly what you are saying, that we are not just this volatile, loose cannons, just creating all kinds of crazy leadership. And before we release the team, the great members here, you can put your questions in the WhatsApp forum that we have, and Wahiga will be happy to answer them. She's in there with us. Wahiga, put on the chat how we can find you so that we can ask you more questions and lead better. And you can talk to the people who lead us as well. You need to talk to those ones. You're talking to us, but we appeal to you to talk to those ones as well. So please put your details in the chat, give us your parting shot, and then we can call it a beautiful, beautiful Monday. Yeah, over to you, Akiga. You've said many things, but what do you want to leave us with?
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you, when I took up leadership training, I went for certification. I was happy to sit at the feet of John C. Maxwell. I had a new book, an expensive one. I had an expensive pen to write the nuggets to come and tell people, hey, this is how to lead. But this is what he said. It was a 2-hour session. He said, I only have 2 things to say. Leadership is influence. 1. 2, everything rises and falls on leadership. Then he said he's done. And I'm thinking, what do we do with the 2 hours that are remaining? But no, sitting with that information, there's something he did. He said, yes, people love me. People love the principles that I have taken my time to go find out. And if you say this, they will feel they're good things. But that's not what I'm commissioning you to do. I'm commissioning you to go and become the leader people want to follow. Become the leader that sheds the light, that leads situations towards a direction that people want to go. And so I think that's what I leave to the team today.
Right.
The responsibility of becoming great leaders.
Right. The responsibility of becoming great leaders. Good people, I didn't tell you that. I left it for last. Wahiga is a great author. Please run after her. Beautiful books she writes. Beyond the Horizon. There's one coming up, Crack of Dawn. You really do want to hear from this lady. She spits great wisdom. Thank you so much for coming. Let's lead well. Let's be the one that leaders that illuminate the path for others as we've been charged to do. We shall see you on WhatsApp. I shall send the recording as always. Let's keep going. Keep your questions coming. Thank you so much for coming. And just let's go out and lead with greatness. Thank you so much, Wahiga. We are honored to have you here. We have had. Now that we have had, we shall go and do. We promise you that. So bye, everyone. Until the next Monday in August, the 3rd Monday in August, we shall see you then. See you all. Bye, and have a good afternoon or morning or evening from wherever you are. Bye, everyone.